Okay, hello everybody. I'm Beth White. I'm the founder and CEO of MeBeBot. And with me today, we have Cami VanderHart from E2 Open. And we're gonna basically share a presentation where we talk about AI in the changing workplace. We're gonna give examples of how MeBeBot is utilized by our customers today. And then the best part of all is that we'll be highlighting Cami and her user story as being part of the team at E2 Open, actively involved in providing MeBeBot as an intelligent assistant to their employees to help support the overall employee experience and their great employer brand that they have. So Cami, did you want to say a quick hi?
Hello, everyone. Pleasure to be here.
All right, well, great. You'll hear a lot more from Cami here in the short couple of moments after we go through a couple other intro slides. So let's get started. And just by the way, we've got Bennett out there in managing the chat. If you have questions along the way, feel free to chat them into that area of Zoom, and we will have time for questions and answers also at the end. So, all right, well, let's get started. Wow, our world is changing so rapidly these days. You can't really turn on any kind of media or news, look at articles on the internet without hearing about AI. And really, it's the time of what you could call a perfect storm of why are all these things kind of coming together. So one of the major aspects is just frankly, cloud computing and computing power has just exponentially increased over time. So that allows AI to be a lot more fine-tuned and accessible and help organizations as well as consumers. We all know a lot of us are addicted to our iPhones or other devices that provide us direction guidance, using our home devices like Alexa or Siri. That's all part of the whole AI story that's really been shaping the way that we live and work. And as far as the workplace is concerned, what's really happening over the last couple of years is we've got this influx of a ton of different types of demographics within the workplace. This is the first time in history where we actually have 5 different generations in the workplace. All of them have very different perspectives and needs about leveraging even technology and the way they think about work. So that's something that we all have to be very conscientious about. Obviously, through the pandemic, people change the shape of actually physically where and how they work too. And with that, there's the need to kind of essentially meet employees and the employer in the middle to not only help meet those expectations of the employees, but also use those great talents to better the overall organization. So there's a huge emphasis right now in the market on how do we help upskill people with inside organizations to really help them grow to be their best selves, to make work more meaningful. And then really lastly, it's about really looking, especially in times like today, where we're in a moment in economic times where we're in a downturn. And everyone is focused on the bottom line. And so when you're focused on the bottom line, it's all about how to manage your operational efficiencies. And so that's really when you can look at that concept of productivity and productivity challenges. And really, when we think about productivity, we think about, what are things that are happening with inside organizations that are actually wasting time, that are not inefficient, that are inefficient. Well, a lot of that inefficiency, I think many people who are on this call would claim that looking for information with inside organizations has become incredibly cumbersome. It's really enlightening to know that an average company of about 3,000 people has about 400 different cloud applications in play that employees have to know and learn about. And so often they're looking for not only information on how to use these systems, they might not even know the types of people at the company that can help, provide them information. So they're constantly scouring the company intranet. They may be Slack messaging or Teams messaging other people within their group. At times they're submitting help desk tickets to different tools that are out there or manually entering in emails to a group inbox. So there's a lot of wasted time with manual responses to questions, looking for information. And at the end of the day, people really do with inside workplaces want an experience that mimics what they gain as a consumer these days. Like I mentioned before, we're also used to using devices to get quick answers to questions 24/7. So why not bring that type of solution with inside the workplace to help with those operational inefficiencies and to help drive smart automation that makes work more meaningful? And so really that's kind of where, we wanted to take a pulse of the folks that are out there, right now, if you're, how many of you are spending more than 1 hour a day manually responding to employee questions? This could be somebody does a stopping by your desk or sends you a Teams or Slack message or an email or a text message. So there's this underlying kind of current of this type of activity that's happening often, but people don't often know about it as a business problem. And of course, we've had ticketing systems today. So if any of you are using any ticketing systems and want to chime into what that looks like, there's a lot of ticketing systems that are great. However, it's still very manual. It's people responding to each individual ticket that frankly does require a wait time. And at times, it may be not organized in a way to have an understanding of what kinds of needs the employees have inside the organization. But if you want to chime in and put any answers to these questions out there, and then of course, lastly, communicating to employees is more and more challenging as we have lots of different systems and tools. How do you make sure you get messages across to people that are looking for them? So Bennett, I don't know if there's any information out there that anyone share that we want to call out right now.
No, I'll be curious to hear from folks like how have you, whether you're a people manager or employee or even a HR administrator, how are you currently getting answers or providing how are you getting answers to your questions or providing answers to questions? We'd love to are you doing it today primarily through emails for Slack?
Exactly. And it goes to all the different internal areas of the business, from IT to facilities to payroll, even the procurement teams, right? So that's what we're going to be talking about. Is now we'll move forward and just discuss, that employees really do, have questions to help them better, perform their roles. So it's not only the employee productivity, but then it's also the productivity of the teams that support them. So if employees have any questions, how are we giving them that level of instant gratification that they're looking for? And so that's really where MeBeBot comes into play. Is we are the digital front door that's really guiding the employee experience with inside companies, providing a singular place for employees to go so that they can not only get support, but they can have a higher level of personalization in communications, as well as pulse surveys to gather some feedback, and then really having the data and analytics to look at, to learn what's working, what's not, how to better help our overall employee base and underlying productivity and operational efficiencies. And so what we really focus on at MeBeBot is we're really all about how do we help the changing dynamics within the workplace that we talked about within that first slide. We have a global workplace environment. People do need 24/7 support. They want tools and solutions that are really easy to launch. No one has time for 1-year implementation processes. That's out the window these days. So how do you have a solution that helps get started on a path of leveraging AI and technology that gathers great people analytics data, that's not time consuming to maintain and keep up to date, and yet really drives that experience of, for the employee, where there's the ability to have those asynchronous communications, feedback loops, and just overall support. It's all about having the basic needs met for people so that they can really thrive with inside organizations. And so what we do at MeBeBot is we serve the needs of all the different types of questions employees have across the business, from IT support questions, payroll, HR, facilities, operations, and it's constantly growing. We have amazing customers that continue to suggest lots of different use cases for MeBeBot. And the overall goal is, if employees are looking for insights and information, they come to MeBeBot first. That is their new digital front door to gain all these insights across the organization. And so how MeBeBot works, I'll show you a brief demo, is we have a customer-facing portal that Cami and the team at E2Open have been utilizing. Inside the portal is a curated knowledge base of placeholder values that flow into questions and default answers. So the questions are things that employees we know are already asking about amongst our many customers across the globe that are using our product today. But Cami and her team have the ability to edit the answers to the questions to really reflect their business and to give back information to employees in real time. So as things have changed, I know E2Open has done a lot of acquisitions over the years, and every acquisition means there's changing information for those people that are brought on from as part of an acquisition. Remote work and changes in benefits were huge times in the last couple of years where there's been a lot of flux of information, and putting the power and the control of the business users to make those updates in real time is one of the value adds we provide. Within the same solution portal that you'll see here, and we can show in a demo, they can also send out push messages, pulse surveys, and see this dashboard of the valuable usage information so that they can learn a little bit more about their people and help understand, even if they don't have people physically in their vicinity, they can still keep their finger on the pulse of the needs. The employees themselves have the ability to use MeBeBot as an app inside Slack. We're also an app inside Teams. And in the case of E2Open, we're in both Teams and SharePoint. So wherever an employee goes to look for information at E2Open, they can find MeBeBot. So let's go ahead and just jump into a live demo. And what I'm going to do is that, because again, E2Open is using MeBeBot and Teams, and I'm sure their Teams looks very similar, where MeBeBot is an app that's installed, at the top of the perhaps toolbar. And E2Open is a company that does have employees in a lot of different countries, so we would uniquely populate their instance to have the countries that they have employees in. Now we have a new feature inside MeBeBot that's called Manager Toolbot that allows managers to get very specific answers to their questions based on their role. Today, I'm just going to indicate that I'm a team member within the company and that I have some questions. So I may have a question like, when do we get paid? And I'm looking to understand the payroll calendar. And because I marked that I was in the US, I'm going to be delivered the information about the payroll calendar for the US. And Cami can probably talk to this, as they're supporting employees globally. They have different payroll systems in different countries and different payroll cycles. And so you have to be able to target that answer to the employee based on, where they live and the labor laws, the benefits they have, et cetera. So not only do we also serve up the ability to add in links, like this could link to a payroll calendar that's in the E2Open SharePoint, which I know they have, and that way employees can see, those dates, right there. Those same employees can also ask related questions if they're interested in direct deposit. They can learn about how to get set up for direct deposit, and they can also give feedback to the answers to the question. And I know we just talked about this, how to update the feedback is something that the business users like Cami have control of. She can actually indicate what the escalation path is to if someone says an answer was not helpful. They actually have the ability to do something else with it, either email an inbox, start a ticket for a tool like a Jira or Zendesk or Fresh Services, ServiceNow. So there's lots of ways to kind of continue the conversation. So this is the interface with inside Teams. Even though E2Open does not use that, this is what this looks like inside Slack. So some of our customers are Slack users. We were the Brilliant Bot of the Month in May and June of last year from Slack, and that was awesome to have that accolades. And again, with the same user interface, employees can ask questions like, how do let's see, what it was. Okay, yeah, how do I submit, or actually, sorry, let's just do a simple one. How do I use the VPN, right? That's a common question. all the hybrid and remote workers had to get on board with over the last couple years. And so asking an IT question gives an answer. The IT team can control this answer differently. They have prioritization into the system based on their roles and responsibilities. They can access and update their content differently than Cami and the team and HR that's updating their content. There's different information provided, different types of related topics, but again, the employee can still have the ability to rate the quality of the answer, which is something that the business users get to see as part of our shared feedback results. So that's the experience for the employee. And just in the essence of time, I'm watching my time here. I'll show you how MeBeBot, the magic happens behind the scenes. So Cami is considered a super user at E2Open. And so she is out here in E2Open's instance of MeBeBot. So all of our customers have their own instance of MeBeBot. She's able to come in on a weekly basis. She can see exactly how many answers MeBeBot served to their employees across the globe. Because they do use MeBeBot in Teams and in SharePoint, she can see how many employees are interacting from the different channels, we call them. If they're perhaps doing an acquisition and they talked about MeBeBot at their whole new hire orientation for a new group of employees, they can see how many of those new people are now interacting with MeBeBot. They can look at data based on the day of the week. They can not only see how many questions are being asked, but they can also see how many unique users. So this data here tells me that 68 questions were asked by 51 different people. So a couple people asked a couple questions in the same time. They can also take a look at how questions are being answered across the globe where they have people, and based on the types of categories of content that MeBeBot has within inside our system. So we have the ability to have IT content, facilities, payroll, benefits. Benefits is one of our larger categories, so is IT, very representative here in this demo instance. And then the best thing is they can actually export this data as a CSV file, import it into other systems, and manipulate the data if they'd like, choose date ranges of it. So lots of data insights inside the MeBeBot portal. And Cami was joined E2Open after we had launched. So she wasn't part of the initial foray of getting MeBeBot set up, but the team over at E2Open, for example, had someone who was overseeing US content for benefits. And so that individual could come into our placeholder values and simply complete these placeholder values that make their business unique. For example, what is their maximum that an employee can spend on the dental insurance? If they don't have certain benefits, they don't have to enable these placeholders or questions, but they have the ability to put in information into all these placeholder values that meet their business. When a company fills out the placeholder values, they're essentially 90% there to getting the solution launched. Then that same person would come into the questions. They would go over to the benefits section, and then they can see that placeholder values they filled out for benefits are actually flowing into the answers that the employee will receive. So for example, we were talking about dental services. I can come into the dental services question answer. I can see these are the types of questions an employee might ask about it. I can see related answers that will also be served to the employee based on this, just in case they want to drill down a little bit further. And then I can see how my placeholder values flowed into the answer. If I want to update an answer, I simply click on that. I can come in here, update the answer, put in additional information. The plan will change, on December 31st, perhaps. If that was maybe something that you already know, you can give people a little heads up on it, for example, and have that in as an addition. Once you hit save, that value is saved, and now that's the new answer that the employee will receive. So that's what role Cami and her team takes on of managing MeBeBot when things are changing. She also has the ability to send out push messages from MeBeBot, so they can be about all different types of topics. The IT team, the HR, the payroll team can send things out. This is an example of a push message we just sent out today that indicated that we have a security training coming up for our team, and that, giving everybody a heads up, a little information about the due dates. It's sent to MeBeBot in Teams. And so it looks like this. It looks like you have a message from MeBeBot right here. I got this push message right here. I had an alert like I do for the activity reminder, but yet it can be very targeted. So Cami has the ability to create a push message. She can upload a CSV file of particular people that she just wants to target, that perhaps have a deadline on enrolling in a benefit program, or, perhaps the people that haven't finished the security training. You can really target push messaging for that. And then pulse surveys works very similarly, where you can send out a pulse survey to get feedback from employees. So you can see I've actually scheduled a pulse survey on June 1st to actually get feedback from people on that security training. Did they like that security training? Did it help them, learn a little bit more to help provide, a better, secure, compliant organization? And so that will give us good insights whether people like the program we've chosen, and if we need to make any modifications for next year. You also have things like Employee Appreciation Day. You can have people choose to pick what kinds of items they might want, or we often use it after a company meeting to ask people if they feel like they were connected to the business after hearing more about, what we're doing, our goals and objectives, and then their role that they're playing. So it can be about employee satisfaction. It can be, do you want breakfast tacos or bagels? So there's a lot of fun things you can do with push messaging and pulse surveys to build culture and to really keep your finger on the pulse of people. And then Cami does spend some time as a super admin in feedback. So any answer that's indicated as not helpful from an employee, we'll triage these together and apply human supervised learning. And so maybe Cami can share a little bit about learning a little bit about AI and how it works. So that's one of the ways that we have a continuous feedback loop from our customers, and then continue improving the accuracy of answers for employees. So that's the demo. And then I am going to turn it over to Cami now to just shed a little light on her experiences with MeBeBot.
Awesome. Thank you, Beth. That was great. I love even watching through MeBeBot, even though I know how everything works already. It's such an awesome tool. So like Beth said, I've been with E2Open for a little over a year. I'm one of our HR system administrators. And for MeBeBot, I coordinate all of the other country administrators. And then I also maintain all of our global content. So that's sort of what I do for E2Open as far as MeBeBot goes. So again, Beth touched on this. E2Open's been a partner with MeBeBot for almost 4 years. But since I came in only a year ago, everything was already launched. So I had this great baseline to start from, which was awesome. But when I came into E2Open, I had never used a chatbot before, ever. So it was a completely new experience for me. And I'm not going to lie, when I first started, I was pretty skeptical. Like, I never used a chatbot. Why wouldn't I just go to our SharePoint page and search for something? Because the SharePoint page has all this information. I just type it in and it comes up, right? Well, I found out pretty quickly that when you search in SharePoint, it's just a keyword search. And so you're getting things like archived policies, new policies, an all staff meeting that talked about the thing that you were trying to get to, but maybe you only need like 5 minutes of that whole recording. So I'm still having to weed through so much stuff if I'm looking at the SharePoint page. So I really have grown to be a huge advocate for MeBeBot. It's so much easier. And I will be candid. Sometimes when people come to me with questions, I will just go ask MeBeBot, and then I can use that answer to give them what they need. It's actually great because then I can also sort of redirect them like, hey, I got this answer from MeBeBot. Did you know that you can go out and chat with the bot whenever you need them? And if there is one thing that I have had to work on since I came in with MeBeBot, it is employee engagement. And it's not that people weren't using it, it's that it's such a great tool that people sometimes forget exists. So what we do to sort of get people involved is, like I said, we redirect, but we also present it in our onboarding solution, which is absolutely great for our new hires. They love it because they can get the information. They're so new that they don't necessarily know who they're supposed to ask these questions. So they have a bot that tells them either the answer to their question or directs them to the right person to ask the question. So we love using it in onboarding. I also put it in all of my out of office messages because we are a global company, and sometimes when I'm out of the office, everyone else in the US is out of the office. It's a global holiday, or it's not a global holiday, it's just a US holiday. So somebody else needs an answer, but there's literally no one to provide it except for MeBeBot because it's there. So I love putting it in my out of office signature for that reason. And then it's actually on my email signature of all of my emails as well. Because we have it also on our SharePoint page, I can actually put a little link to it. So you click on the link, it takes you directly to MeBeBot. So if I'm not able to respond quickly enough, or you just want the answer right now, you can go ask MeBeBot. It's a click away. It's awesome. I love it. The thing that really, I believe, has gotten the most activity though in our MeBeBot system is our push messaging. And this is something that we've absolutely started doing more in the last, I don't know, I'm going to say 6 to 9 months. We really started utilizing it. And it is awesome because it really cuts through the noise of people's inboxes. Because I know I'm the person that if I send you an email and like a week later I haven't gotten a response, I'm definitely pinging you in Teams like, hey, did you see my email? Can I get a response? So MeBeBot does that like on a larger scale. So we use it for a couple of different things you would think of that Beth touched on, like performance reviews. Hey, everybody, performance reviews are going out today. Deadline is May 31st. And then here is a link to how to complete them in our E2 University. Here's a link to other information you may want to find on the SharePoint page. But the great thing about that also is you can send a push message up front to announce it, but I always go in and I do things as soon as I get it. So I go in, my performance review is done. I don't want to hear about it again later, right? So what we can do is when we're getting to like a week out and we're at 75% completion, we can get that list of the 25% of the people who haven't gotten it done, and only send out the push message to those 25% of people that actually need the message. So we're not over communicating to people who don't need the message. So love that feature of the push messaging. But we didn't want MeBeBot to feel like it was always telling you had to do things, right? So we always make sure we try to send out celebratory messages too. So for example, last year, we were blessed to be able to roll out an equity piece to our company, like all of our staff. So we were able to send out a push message that said, hey, did you know you're a part owner of our company now? And we could put in a link to a FAQ, but then we can also put, if you have more questions, respond to me. I can give you more information. It gets people talking to the bot and gives them sort of an idea of what kind of questions they should be asking or what it might actually be used for people who are unfamiliar with it. The other thing I did want to say on push messaging is that they're super easy to build and then also to send out. So maybe I need to send out something the week before the performance reviews are due, but I'm busy and I can't send it out on that day. I can set it up to schedule so that I can do it a week ahead of time, and it just sends itself whenever it needs to get sent. It's super awesome in that way. And it's so easy to set it up. Like I could go in, it's just like sending an email. You pick who you're sending it to, what you're going to send them, and it just goes out to the people that you need it to go to without another thought. And that sort of easy maintenance is really a main focal point for us on the MeBeBot platform. The updates and stuff they've done with questions and placeholders are great. I love it. Placeholders, Beth touched on how that helped us before, but we recently went through an upgrade to our SharePoint site where it broke a whole bunch of our links in MeBeBot. But the great thing was most of those things were held in placeholders. So even though we had to overhaul pretty much every single question, it really was only the placeholders that we had to update, not the actual verbiage in the question themselves. So that saved us a huge amount of time and was able for us to get that updated information out very quickly. As far as maintenance from the E2 Open side, we try to put the ability to update country content in the hands of the people that have the information. So we do have, I think it's 5 or 6 other people besides myself that are updating HR content on a country by country basis. So in order to kind of maintain consistency, because we want to have a global presence sort of, we do meet about once a month. It's usually only half an hour or so, but it's great to get to meet with them because I get to brainstorm ideas with them. We decide what we're going to send out. We usually try to send out 1 push message a month minimum so that we keep people engaged. We go over what we want to send, ideas on, I'm doing this for my country. This is why. Maybe that would be beneficial to your country as well. So it gets, it keeps the bot fresh because we get continual ideas from more than just one person. Also, it makes maintenance even easier because it's not one person having to maintain everything. It's, 1 hour for 6 people instead of 6 hours for one person, So as you can tell, I'm very excited about MeBeBot. I love it. This is how E2 Open uses it. But I will say that MeBeBot is a super flexible tool. And I know Beth and all of the MeBeBot team, and they would absolutely be excited to make it work for you. So.
Oh, thank you, Cami. That was awesome. And one of the other things that you guys do that I think is super impressive is how well you partnered with the IT team, right?
Yes.
I mean, you all communicate to them very often to kind of support MeBeBot extension so that it's HR, payroll, facilities, benefits, IT, a big area of focus for E2 Open, right?
And our IT content administrator does come to some of our monthly meetings, especially when we're having like the SharePoint overhaul and that sort of stuff. So yes, we work very closely with our IT team as well.
Yeah, which has been awesome. Well, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Cami. It's been great to have your partnership over the years, and it's impressive to see how much it's helped save everyone internally time. But again, with all the complex acquisitions you did, I know it made hopefully those people that were coming on to join E2 Open feel more welcome and supported during that time. That's kind of a lot of uncertainty when you're joining a new company through an acquisition, right?
For sure, yes. And
Yeah.
it absolutely has.
Yeah, great. Like to think of it as like a new hire's best friend, right? So wonderful. Let me get my cursor. Whoop, sorry, I think I might have skipped a slide. Nope. All right, well, if we have questions for Cami, we're going to take some at the end here, but just in a way to wrap up, AI and employee experience is all about many things. Cami says, how do we help automate some of the manual work with inside companies so that Cami and her team can do things that are more strategic for the business, reducing some of those, the manual work. It helps enrich, the employee, like she had mentioned, giving them the information they need that's very personalized, that alone is not a blast to everybody so that you start to ignore it. That's human nature, right? So, and pulse surveys, I know Cami didn't really hit on it yet. We're going to hopefully do some more work with E2 Open on some pulse surveys. Even though they have other types of employee satisfaction tools, these can be those quick hits to get information, even if someone is, if you're looking at different hybrid work schedules and trying to get feedback from employees on topics like that. Or like I said, I always like the bagels or breakfast taco example just for some fun. And then empowering employees, to just know that there's other ways to get information and answers to questions. They have a beautiful SharePoint site at E2 Open. I have seen it, but it's just giving them another opportunity to get to that narrow answer quickly. And that's what we're all used to as consumers. So just kind of in wrap up about MeBeBot is, as Cami mentioned, we're a SaaS-based solution. We do work with other companies like E2Open, as you can see here. And so we have employees in many countries across the globe now. We're hyper focused on not only the supporting the employee needs as a singular view for all the departments across the business, but as Cami mentioned, the pulse surveys and the push messaging gets pretty addictive, and it's poignant, even though, there is a marketing department at E2Open and there is internal comms, HR, team really drives a lot of that as well. So, and then being able to see insights into that. And then we were just very pleased with some of the accolades we have received over the years, but really the best thing ever is when we have our customers renew their contracts with us. And with E2Open, it's been great to be with them for all these years. So thanks again, Cami, for joining. And it's time for questions and answers. So Bennett, I don't know if we have a few out there.
There are a few questions for sure. So I think I would love to, the audience would love to kind of go a little deeper into understanding how MeBeBot served in mergers and acquisitions. If you could take us through one of your recent acquisitions that you were involved with, Cami, and talk about how MeBeBot was introduced and, and what was initial reactions about this type of employee support kind of model.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was here for our most recent acquisition, and obviously the roadmap had already been laid because we'd been through so many before. But usually what we do is we always do an onboarding even for our acquired companies. So when we do that onboarding, we would also roll out MeBeBot for them. And there's some great targeted questions in MeBeBot for acquired companies that we were able to fill out, and then also direct them to frequently asked questions and that sort of thing. So it absolutely helped with directing people. It's just like the new hires, where do I go? Who do I talk to? That sort of thing.
Great. Another question came up, and you kind of touched upon it, but maybe you can go into a little detail about how much time do you actually spend maintaining the questions and answers in MeBeBot?
Yeah, absolutely. So maintenance is super easy. If you have a policy change, you go in, you update the question, it takes maybe 5-10 minutes. Overall, I would say probably per month, we spend half an hour on an admin meeting and then maybe another hour or two tops maintaining questions. So it's super low maintenance, and like the amount of maintenance for the amount of benefit is huge.
Yeah, great. Yeah, those are the top questions that came in over the past 30 minutes. So these are great. Beth,
Awesome. Yeah, no, I mean, I just really thank you so much, Cami, for being here today. You've been a wonderful role model. I think one of the strengths you've brought to the solution is you've done a great job of coordinating with the other subject matter experts in the different countries. I think that's really game changing because, in the world of IT, a lot of answers are maybe the same over the whole globe. However, in the world of HR, it's not that way. There's a lot of different labor laws. There's different ways that payroll's handled. There's countries that have national health insurance and then separate types of benefits. And so you've got to be able to really deliver that very localized, specific answers to questions, and having that team where you have the person in India and, and the person in Europe really owning kind of those types of content, I think ensures that your employees are getting the accurate responses based on where they are in the world. So we are a global workplace after all. So, well, thanks again, Cami, and shout out to all the other folks at E2Open that have been such amazing partners.